Barbara's been great. Barbara
Very
Jacoby.
patient.
Oh, what a
Hello,
love.
Barbara. Barbara Jacoby's in studio. And,
Yay.
and
Where's my clapping for
Where's Barbara's clapping? So
that was my mom. She's very loud in her applause.
yes, she's very good. So, I've never met Barbara before. I met Barbara on Twitter. That's how I know Barbara.
I love that.
I know.
Yeah.
And
Twitter stalker.
isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And I
You are.
invited Barbara on the show because over the last few years, I've been interacting with Barbara on the issues of breast cancer and domestic violence. And I thought, who is this Barbara Jacoby? She's so interesting. She's this award-winning blogger for the Huffington Post. You have your own blog. And you've been through so much, and now you're an advocate for people. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much. And actually, I was stalking her. There are a few people across the country that are
stalkable?
that are in the media that I admired the work that they were doing and so forth. So reached out to add them to my Twitter.
Thank you for doing that.
That's just wonderful.
And that brought her here. So thanks for doing that.
And isn't that fun to have a guest that you find on Twitter and say, hey, will you come on our show?
And that she's not crazy. So
well,
that's the good
but
thing.
we are.
No, I did that with Natalie the psychic, and I thought I knew her. And she's like, no, you don't know me. You've just been Twitter stalking me. I said, okay. I know you now.
It's the new world, right?
Absolutely.
So I was reading about you, why you're so passionate, and you were telling me in the green room that the domestic violence that you lived with early on in your first marriage was so horrendous that when cancer came around, you were like, I got this, man.
Absolutely. I went through 10 years of domestic abuse, had a loaded gun in my face on a regular basis, and was promised that if I left, I would be hunted down and killed. And when it got to the day that that would be preferable, and I walked out the door, I knew I'd never have a bad day again in my life, and that's been the case.
What gave you the courage to walk out? There's so many women who are afraid to do that.
I couldn't take it anymore. That was my breaking point, and like I said, if he found me and killed me, that was preferable to living that way any longer.
When you were living there, how did you keep yourself in the situation? How did you talk yourself down?
Most of the time, it was because of my work and being focused on that and never opposing him, never doing anything that would set him off. I knew he'd come in the door already, on the offensive with accusations and everything else.
And with a
just
gun.
say nothing. Yeah.
How old were you?
24.
Wow.
When you finally walked out the door, where did you go? Because you must have planned it somewhat.
Actually, I did. Some friends of mine helped me find a place initially, but I set it up so that I continued to carry him on my medical insurance and on the car insurance and so forth. So that was an incentive for him not to do anything.
Right. Smart.
You really thought that he was going to kill you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did he hunt you down?
Well, he knew where I was at that time, but as long as he was receiving benefits still, then he didn't do anything. He knew where I was until I actually picked up and left the state.
Jesus, it's like ransom you had to pay.
Everything always works out for the best, and if I hadn't gone through that and left the state then and moved on from there, I wouldn't be here today. And I wouldn't trade this for anything.
Do you speak to women publicly about this? I think it's so important because women are scared. I was just actually talking to a family member of mine who was afraid, like a removed cousin, and she called me over the weekend and said, I have an abusive husband, I'm afraid to leave. And I thought, oh my God, what can I do from here? She was on the East Coast and she's been afraid to leave. And what do you say to somebody like that who's in that position?
Get help.
Get out. Yeah.
Get help. There are places to call where you can go and be hidden away if you are in fear of your life. The biggest problem usually is that these women will have children, maybe even pets and so forth, and it's hard for them, especially if they're not working or have a source of income, to be able to sustain a home and a household for their family if they leave successfully.
So how did you, when you started this blog, and I was reading how it was your husband who basically, your second husband, your good husband.
The good husband.
The good husband. Right. Who basically said as you were going through your breast cancer that you just write and I'll figure out this website for you. I'll do it all for you. You write. Was this your first or your second bout with cancer?
This was within days of being diagnosed the second time.
And what type of cancer, if you could tell everyone?
I had breast cancer and
Twice.
Yes. And after I was diagnosed the second time, which was right after the holidays, well, actually, I had a pretty good idea when they were testing before the holidays that was probably going to be the outcome. But he said, you need to do something with this. You keep everything in and so forth. He said, I know you like to write. So he set up the whole thing, and I started with a blog in January of 2008, and about basically nothing. I just wrote whatever I was thinking about. Every Sunday I posted a blog, and the first time that I wrote about cancer and got a response back from a woman.
That was everything.
It changed the whole tide, because at that time it was basically MySpace and the beginning of Twitter and Facebook that were taking off. So for someone to say, thank you, I'm glad to know that I'm not alone, was the tide turning.
And you probably felt like I went through all of this for that moment, right? Because that's why I'm here, right?
Even not at that point. It was just, okay, so I'm writing and it's making a difference, at least in this one person's life. I think the biggest impact came when I got my first response from a child whose grandmother was dealing with breast cancer and was scared to death and faced the situation that many children still do, and that is when the diagnosis occurs in their family, everybody in the adult world are all talking among themselves, and the child is not being considered in the conversation. And all this child could do was be fearful and not knowing what to expect, think, or anything else, and turn to me. And I believe that was the one that really made me feel like there was a need for that aspect of it.
What's the difference between the kind of fear you felt when you were being threatened with a gun and the kind of fear you felt when you knew that you were battling cancer?
Fear for your life from the gun, intimate, right in your face type of thing. From the beginning, I never really had a feeling that cancer had spread. I just felt like everything was going to be all right. Just tell me where to go, what to do, when to report, what should be done. You're the experts. And this also was another area that set me off to thinking about so much more than just always saying and doing exactly what your doctor tells you to do. Because I ended up being sent to an oncologist who decided that my treatment should be based upon statistics for a woman of my age from WebMD.
What? I could have done that for you.
I could have done that for me. And he was going to send me off to chemotherapy right off the bat. This was on a Friday afternoon. I went home. I thought about it over the weekend. And I knew it didn't feel right. So I called on Monday morning, first thing, told them I would not be returning, went back to my primary care physician and asked for a referral elsewhere. She gave me a fantastic doctor who, till my dying day, I will be grateful to. The interesting part was he was in the same medical group, so when I had to go to my...
Oh, no.
That's always difficult.
Go into my appointments, we set it up to go in the back door. So
No,
I
you're
wouldn't have to... I
kidding.
swear to God.
I've done that, right?
How crazy
I
is
changed
this?
in the same group, and they were like, "Why?"
But
It's
this
very
woman is
uncomfortable.
battling cancer, for God's sakes. You've got the weight of the world on your shoulders, and on top of it, you have to go in the back door
Not hurt the doctor's
and
feelings.
not hurt the doctor's feelings. Oh my God!
or more like his ego, right?
Unbelievable.
We were raised that way. Whatever the doctor said, they were
No, it's
the
true.
medical. They were the gods. They're the ones that knew everything. You don't know anything about medical care, and so that was one of the things that turned me into a patient advocate. Believe me.
But don't you think just knowing that you were going to be okay because you somehow knew that, don't you think that helps you battle cancer and heal?
I thought yes, and basically I figured if I got out of the first round with my life, that I was here to do something. I was here to make a difference. Didn't know exactly what that difference would be or what that path would be, because I still to this day work a full-time job, and I am not a nonprofit. So all the work that I do is strictly my voluntary work and so forth. But I knew there was a reason, and every time I get a response from somebody who says, thank you for sharing that information about this going on in the research world, or this clinical trial, or this group doing this, that, or the other thing, or these people raising funds, or this new program being available, I know that was the whole reason for my getting cancer.
How many years have you been cancer-free now?
7.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Just got checked about a month ago.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, Barbara, when your blog started to take off, and you entered into a realm of social media which is occupied by a bunch of young kids, I'm curious as to how you felt in this forum and how you've risen and distinguished your blog and yourself in this forum and in this medium.
There are 2 things that make me feel very comfortable. First of all, if you look at the opposite ends of the spectrums, it's the older people and the younger people that do not want to do the research. They don't want to check. They want to have everything handed to them down and dirty. And so I figured, well, this works for me very well. I also work with a bunch of millennials. And so I have a pretty good ability to communicate, relate to them, and so forth. I love computers. I love social media. I love everything that it has done and brought to our world, and I only wish that my parents would have been able to see, those types of things, especially my father, who was an engineer designer, and for instance, he created the equipment that produced the flash cubes for Kodak cameras.
Oh my God,
wow.
I remember those.
Yeah, so he would
I don't.
love this. He would absolutely love social media.
Yes, you do.
He'd love the engineering, the technology, and so forth.
So what do you think, other than social media, which apparently you're pretty good at, what do you think made people pay attention to this blog? There's a zillion bloggers out
Yeah,
there.
there are.
I'm on their side. And when
There's a lot of heart to your blog.
When I see statistics, for instance, there were I became aware of as a Komen blogger, for instance. It's not that I associate myself with Komen, but it gives me an opportunity to get inside information. And there
Right.
was a big study done, and there's a big program going on here in California that most people don't even know about, and it has to do with free mammograms for 2 years.
For anyone, or explain?
Well, it's for underserved and specifically targeted for a lot of the African American women. The rate of women with advanced breast cancer dying in the African American community is 40% in the United States. In Los Angeles, it's 70%.
Oh my Lord.
Wow.
That's
I
enormous.
want to know why. See, this is where I go. I want to know why.
Why? Do we have any idea?
Well, they're not getting the care. They're not even getting a mammogram, right?
They're not, but why are not?
Right,
Why
why
are they
not?
It's because there's what is known as the digital divide. They do not have access to any information through social media because they don't
They're not
have
on social media.
they don't have electronic equipment. Some of them don't even have so much as a cell phone. Nobody is getting the message to them to let them know about these programs that are available and how they can access that and the help and so forth. So that is my next initiative. And I've already been working on a program that I'm hoping to get funding to sponsor so that that information can be, a lot of these women are single moms. And if I can get the program that I want together to get the information through the schools, through the children taking home flyers,
And they can take it home
and
to the
they
mom.
can come to the school and be guided on social media or through computers, and this is what's available,
Well,
and so forth.
Let me stop you there for a second. Do you still get flyers from your kid's school? Because I
No.
don't. There's not
There-
one flyer that
no,
goes
there are no
around.
flyers.
It's all on the computer, and half the time I don't even read it. I'm like, what?
Some public schools, though, do still do flyers. Some do, but not that many.
yeah,
But
so
I've-
it's something
I've-
to think about.
Well, I've had discussions with my friend who is the head of a program called Project Fit America, celebrating their 25th anniversary. She's always worked in the underserved communities, and her program is to get funding for children, for their schools, for gym equipment, and so forth, for after-school programs. She and I have had great discussions about this, and those children in those schools are receiving flyers through the children to the homes because they don't have that access. So those are the people we're trying to reach anyway.
So how did you name your blog, Let Life Happen?
It's terrific, isn't it? I love it.
It actually started out as a CD, which my husband and I produced together. I wrote all 15 of the songs, title song being Let Life Happen. He sang it. We had some fantastic musicians here in the Los Angeles area
do the
that
whole
helped us
damn
put
thing.
it together. I mean, it's projects together with my husband have always been successful.
I'm glad you found a good one the second time around.
If you are not an inspiring story and person, that is amazing to come from where you did with an abusive husband, and now you're out here just getting out a message that you're passionate about. I love that, and that's wonderful. I really applaud you.
I
That's
really
fantastic.
appreciate it.
And she's adorable too.
See what happens when you actually go on Twitter, Deborah? You might meet someone.
I'm on Twitter.
Your world may expand.
I am on Twitter. I just don't post pictures.
I think that's Tumblr.
Wow.
So nice to
That's
meet
a whole
you.
nother show.
I must say one thing, talking about the anniversary for Channel 11 and the morning show. That's how I knew you.
What morning show?
She's saying something nice.
After you left, I left. I'm over at another channel.
That's why I said what morning show. I thought it went off the air 2 years ago. No?
But you were one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, to be there. You know, you brought an element to the programming in the morning that just unparalleled. So you left, I left.
We'll be somewhere else.
Barbara.
Yes, absolutely.
Did I find
Thank
a good
you.
one on Twitter?
You can Twitter stalk anytime.
Barbara, for me, it's been such a great pleasure. It's full circle.
too.
After
Wonderful.
all these years of tweets back and forth, I am so glad to have met you.
Well, you have touched my heart. That was the reason why I loved the work that you were doing, and I knew and checked out what you were doing along with Dorothy. And I'm I cannot tell you how happy I was to be able to be honored in this way to share this message.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
you.
for all
What
the
an
good
Thanks for being
inopportune
here.
moment for me to sneeze. Anyway, lovely to meet you.
Yes. So nice
Thank
to
you.
meet
What a
you.
nice show. Great
Really
show.
nice
Thank
show.
you for being with us, and we'll have you back. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Bye, everyone.
And bye to Dorothy's mom.
Yes,
Lovely,
bye.
beautiful mom.
And
Bye,
Dan
Mom.
somewhere in the subway.
Dan's in the subway, and
And your
Charlie
buddies.
and Jason. Hello.
Hi,
Thanks
guys.
for coming. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.